CR101radio.com, podcasts, and more.
76. Immoral Indignation. Rarely in history have more people been more concerned about moral reform than today. Whenever I go to speak or lecture, I find the great interest of people is moral reform. Students are indignant about the immorality of the Watergate affair or some local scandal. Adults have their lists of moral indignation. Everywhere, almost everyone is seething with some form of moral indignation. However, it's all highly immoral. I refuse to get upset about Watergate or some county supervisor's dishonesty because I know that such things are simply mild reflections of what is in every man's heart in some degree, and in most men's hearts to a major degree. In other words, I'm cynical, and with good reason. When someone who believes in the quote-unquote new morality for himself and regards biblical doctrines concerning life, marriage and property as obsolete and ridiculous gets angry because a politician is guilty of an underhanded or dishonest act, I have a right to call his attitude immoral indignation. One man whom I met a few years ago talked angrily about the politician's graft and all the women they supposedly are all playing around with. Before the evening was over, I knew what this man's problem was. He wanted the same for himself and was angry that he couldn't get as much as others. In fact, a friend of mine was swindled out of a few $1,000s by this angry man. Our Lord had a word for such immoral indignation, hypocrisy. Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye. Matthew 7:5. The hypocrite is always full of immoral indignation about every other man's sin, but he coddles his own. The hypocrite wants the whole world to be morally reformed so that the world can be made safe for his own sin. The hypocrite wants to pass a law making the answers to sin a political one rather than a religious one, because the last thing he wants is a confrontation with God. The hypocrite is good at investigating the sins of others, and he enjoys every Watergate affair because it gives him an opportunity to pretend to moral indignation, but he will never look at his own sin. In fact, he is an expert at being what our Lord called a whited sepulchre. Because of their radical dishonesty, hypocrites are dangerous people. Watch out for them. Above all else, make sure that you never meet one in your mirror. He will be the most dangerous one to you.